Today, we get things started with social studies teacher Rakia Hardaway. She will tell us what started the Harlem Renaissance and how it has played a part in American culture. Let's head over to the board and get started.
All right.
Hi, Rakia.
Hi.
Hi, Rakia. Thanks for being
here. Thank you. So I wanted to talk to you ladies about the Harlem Renaissance. Okay, so the Harlem Renaissance, it basically took place in Harlem, New York, where we had a large urban community of African Americans that wound up settling there, and it became a revitalization of art and culture amongst African Americans, where you have different literary writings that happened, as well as music and art that took place during that time period. And this happened between 1910s to the mid-1930s that we have the Harlem Renaissance. Cool. Now, I do want to let you all know, in case you didn't know, Renaissance means rebirth. So we're talking about a rebirth of that Harlem area. Okay. Now, before we can truly get into the art and artists of the Harlem Renaissance, we have to talk about the Great Migration. And so the Great Migration happened, there were two instances of the Great Migration, but this instance we're talking about the period of time between the 1910 and 1920s, where you saw lots of African Americans that moved from the South up to the North for various reasons. One of the reasons was that we were going through World War I at that time, and so you had a lot of soldiers that used to work in the factories that had gone off to fight over in Europe. So they had a lot of factory jobs that were open, and you had African Americans that were down south that were sharecroppers, that were dealing with segregation, that didn't have a lot of the opportunities. And so you had northern factory owners that were willing to hire people of color. So you had different people that decided, or people of color that decided to move up north. And that mingling of the different people from different places got that Harlem Renaissance going. There is a portrait or art picture piece that I like to look at based upon by Jacob Lawrence called Migration of the Negro. And what I like to talk about this is, if you look at this, you see different shades of people of color who are going to different cities. And what I tell my students is that I find interesting is you can tell where people came from based upon, or where people settled based upon where they came from. So for instance, here in Rochester, New York, we have people that come from South Carolina, that come from Georgia, they come from Florida, because they all kind of moved and traveled in packs because it was safety in numbers, like we all know. Okay, so Jacob Lawrence, he actually did this art piece. You can see everybody who's traveling Chicago, New York, St. Louis, and I find it really cool. It's not just these cities alone. You can also look at Los Angeles, where you see this happening, Boston, Buffalo, any place where there's a major city, you can trace where people came from their certain areas.
Cool.
Okay.
And Jacob Lawrence is an African-American painter as well.
Yes, he is. Okay. He's an African-American painter, and what he did, this is one of his pieces called Migration of the Negro, where he was looking at the northern migration that was going on with African Americans. But he also painted other things during this time period of the Harlem Renaissance, which showed Africans being taken from Africa, as well as their settlement down south in slavery, and then being freed and brought during the Great Migration. So we have people in the Renaissance. One of the most famous poets that we have and authors is Langston Hughes. Okay, Langston Hughes was born in Joplin, Missouri, but he was known for his poetry, like The Negro Speaks of Rivers and A Dream Deferred. And what I really like about A Dream Deferred is he wrote in there a line, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Well, as he wrote that, you have, yes, I see you know, Lorraine Hansberry, who took that one line and wrote A Raisin in the Sun, based on the reflections of a family in New York who wants to move out and move to a suburb. So even though we may not know him, we do know, if you know the play, A Raisin in the Sun. Now, another person we have is Zora Neale Hurston. She was born in Alabama, and she wound up moving to New York City. She wrote Their Eyes Were Watching God, which talks about the experience of a Black woman in the South. And it's actually really cool because the book, for some people, may be a little difficult to understand because she uses a dialect of how people would speak back then. So it's not necessarily proper vocabulary or proper words that you would see normally, like a beginnings of the subject, the sentence, the period, but how you speak is how she wrote. Now, we also have Paul Robeson, and I just love him, throwing him in here. He can be somewhat of a controversial figure, but if you see all the things that he did, he was an athlete, an actor, civil rights activist, football player, lawyer, and singer.
Wow.
Okay, he's best and well known for the play Showboat, in which he sang Old Man River. Okay, so if you know that song and the man, that voice, that's Paul Robeson. Next, we have Louis Armstrong. He's amazing. His biggest song that everybody knows is What a Wonderful World. Okay, he was an also trumpet player that was born in New Orleans. He was a singer as well as a trumpet player, and he's known for his big band jazz. Okay, for those people in our audience, they know from Madagascar. If they've ever seen the movie Madagascar, What a Wonderful World was in that as well. Yes, so he is very well renowned. We also have Duke Ellington. He is one of the best known conductors, songwriters, and pianists out there from the Harlem Renaissance. He wrote Take the A Train, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing, okay, which we all know, but he's the one that wrote that song. And he's known for his 10-piece orchestra band set that he had, different members of and different people. Now, we have Bessie Smith, who was a singer, and at one point she was the highest paid black artist in the world. Wow. Okay, and her songs reflected the time of that era, rather. One of the biggest songs she sang was Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, which became one of the reflections of the Roaring 20s, you know, after the crash of the stock market. So that was pretty cool. Now I wanted to take a look at some of the art. Right here we have Barbecue by Archibald J. Motley Jr. Okay, and you see that these are people of color, black people, who are out here, they're dressed nicely, they're having a great time, and there's nothing bad going on, which is something that they wanted to have reflected in the art. Another one that you have, A Midsummer Night in Harlem by Palmer C. Hayden, excuse me. You see the church that's reflected there that is very big in the African-American community. People are dressed in their Sunday's best. They're hanging out on a stoop in Harlem and just having a great time. The last art that I want to show is by Aaron Douglas, and this is a series of pieces that he did. This one is called Aspiration, in which you have African Americans that are going from slavery, and then they've been freed. Yeah, you see the chains. They're looking up to the North Star. There's a North Star, and then they're going to the big city. Okay?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I really like this piece. And so I always recommend for my students to look at different art and artists that they can find from the Harlem Renaissance, because there's a lot out there that they may not realize.
Wow, really cool. So who appreciated all this art? Was it just other African Americans? I mean, was it globally accepted? Was it international? Oh,
it was accepted globally, international. I mean, there were some people that had some problems with it, but for the most part, you have everyone that began to embrace this idea of a positive African American experience.
And that's part of the whole Renaissance.
Yes, the rebirth and the excitement of the culture. Yes, and appreciation, the celebration of being black.
Wow, that's wonderful. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we would like to thank Rakia for being here tonight. And now we are going to change things up for a few minutes and take a look at this video on carbon pricing. Check it out.